folks. Okay, everybody. It's your buddy, Mike Messier. I'm about to go live here with this wonderful review. I guess we are live. And I was hoping that our friends here we go. Yeah, you heard a little bit of echo there. That's because my Instagram was kicking in. But folks, it's your buddy, Mike Messier. Here I am to discuss this movie that I saw tonight. Finally, I wish I would have seen it. Maybe I don't actually, because I was going to see it 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was like a preview night on Dolby Digital. This movie might have been a little bit better on a big Dolby Digital screen. I saw this movie tonight on a fairly decent movie theater screen, AMC theater. Nothing wrong with the theater. Nothing wrong with the auditorium, as I like to say. Um, but I guess I didn't like this movie as much as I thought I would. For those of you that are thinking of seeing it, I mean I think once again it might just be me. I see so many movies that my standards kind of go in and out, I guess. And I've seen a lot of movies that type of this movie kind of had the same type of feel for it. I think this is kind of a light movie, if it's a date night or if you just don't want to think too much. And I mean, look, Scarlett Johansson obviously is a nice face. We've been watching her for many years now. I was remembering. I think the first big thing I can remember her doing was that movie with Bill Murray that Sophia Coppola directed. I think I'm trying to remember the title of that one, but that was like 1999 or 2002. I mean, she's been around for a while and she still looks great. She still does great stuff. And our buddy there, I always get his name mixed up. I want to say Tatum Channing or Channing Tatum or Channing Tatum. I kind of feel like his name would be better the other way around. Like Tatum Channing sounds like a name to me. Like Channing, your name is Channing. I mean, okay, it's your name, no offense, but Channing Tatum. I just like Tatum Channing better. Anyway, he's in this thing. He's the brooding guy. She's the vivacious woman. And what's this all about, Mike? What's this movie about? It's kind of historical fiction. It's something based on true events, but kind of in a swervy, we do our own thing type of way. The filmmakers are making up their own history. And look, for many years that I've known, at least 15 years or so, there's been this conspiracy theory going around that the whole moon landing was staged and it didn't really happen. Man never really landed on the moon. That the moon landing was actually filmed at a soundstage. People have been saying that for a long time. It's a conspiracy theory. I think part of that conspiracy theory is some people think that Stanley Kubrick, directed the moon landing, like what we saw as it saw. Man, I'm having a hard time speaking today. I went to the dentist a few days ago, and I think they might have screwed me up. So now I can't pronounce words properly, which upsets me. But in any event, this movie, I was hoping for a lot because spoilers, by the way, when I saw the previews for this thing, it made it seem to me as if that they were making a case in this historical fiction movie that the entire moon landing was in fact staged. This is a big spoiler, by the way. So if you don't want me to spoil it, but I don't think the movie's that good, so you might as well just listen to my review. But in this movie, it's not that the moon landing that we all or people saw on television at the time was staged. It's that they had a staged moon landing as the backup in case the actual moon landing didn't work, and that the backup was at the order of this guy, Mo Burkus. Woody Harrelson plays Mo Burkus, who basically enlists Kelly Jones, played by Scarlett Johansson, to kind of organize this fake moon landing to pass off as the real one in case the actual moon landing at the exact same time does not come off as planned. Meanwhile, our buddy there, the strapping Channing Tatum or Tatum Chanting, Cole Davis is the launch director. That's his character. And he, of course, with his Bob Backlund morality, Mr. All American Boy, does not want to be involved in this. He does things by the book. He's the straight and narrow guy. We see this theme throughout the film that his character is Mr. Straight and Narrow, does things by the book. He should have been an astronaut himself, but he was kind of screwed out of it because he has a fib in his heart, as Ray Romano's Henry Smalls character informs us with some nice exposition dialogue and a little quiet moment with Kelly Jones. And of course, Kelly Jones is the female character who's vivacious, and she's got this face that launches 1,000 ships. And, Scarlett Johansson does look like a woman that could have been present in 1969. She does have like a face and a figure that looks appropriate to that era of time, which is nice. Uh, and her good looks are a big portion of her character development in this film, which is fine, I guess. But basically, she has a past. She's the pretty girl with the horrid history of doing sordid things, as we find out. She's used different names. She's been involved in crimes. Her mother killed a guy and went to prison when young Kelly Jones was 16 years old. So she's been a con artist and a scammer ever since. And she's been the bad girl with the good face, basically. So, we kind of find out about these characters. The very, I don't know. It just felt like, to me, this movie just jumped into a whole lot of cliches at different times. And it also had, and I do like the rah rah USA, Nassau, wave the flag movies. There was a movie last summer about the first Latino gentleman, or the first Mexican American to go into space. That movie I thought was really good. It was based on true events, true history of a guy. This movie, I feel like where they lost me, if you're ready for this, I feel like this movie tried to be subversive and, vanilla milk toast at the same time. And when I say that, it's because basically, instead of just saying, like, I thought the movie was going to be about, hey, the whole moon landing was a fraud. This is what really happened in this, alternate history. Like, basically, I thought this movie was going to play into the conspiracy theory that we're setting up a fake moon landing. And that's what we all saw. And this movie would be like in the, hypothetical version of events where the moon landing was fake and they had a director, you know, uh, create something that wasn't really happening, etc. I think that's the braver choice. What this movie tried to do was try to split the middle, and that what they're saying in this film is, well, there was a staged moon landing, but it was only staged at the request of this one individual, Mo Burkus, on behalf of whoever. And we really didn't see the staged event because the actual moon landing was broadcast live. And so it's kind of like, well, why is this movie of any significance, or why is this story of any significance if it never happened? And like, once again, subversively, they're trying to tell you that it did happen. And if there's any significance to this film, it would be under another conspiracy, what they call predictive programming, where basically you kind of leak ideas into the general consciousness to get people ready to assume that these things could happen. And they do. And people say that things like Close Encounters of the Third Kind was kind of predictive programming, or other alien movies, or movies like Outbreak, where they talk about a virus. There's this other theory, call it conspiracy or not, that sometimes we get these little hints of things that are about to come. And the Simpsons cartoon, you've probably heard if you're on YouTube like I am, the Simpsons has all these things of President Trump, and now there's one with Lisa Simpson became the president, and she's wearing the same blue outfit and white pearls as Kamala Harris does these days. So predictive programming, whether it's coincidental or whether it's a real thing, that's something you can look into. So I wonder if this movie was trying to assert itself as a predictive programming thing. But if it was all under this very vanilla white toast blanket of a mediocre film, in my opinion. And I really did want to see this film, but it just really felt like when I was watching it, like this is just an excuse to have, Scarlett Johansson in tight dresses and strapping Tatum Channing Tanning, whatever the hell his name is, brooding. Their romantic thing, I think, is also, like, let us see her face a little bit. I think the romantic thing is supposed to carry this film. Will they or won't they? That same old trite shit that we always see. Will these two people hook up? Will they fall in love? Whatever. And when they initially meet by chance in a diner, Obviously the sparks are flying, quite literally, because there's a little fire at the table. And the character of Cole Davis that Channing Tatum plays, he makes a big plea. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in a very long time. Like he makes this whole play to her, and then he runs out. So it's kind of like, is this guy scared of girls, or is he a widower? Like, what's wrong with this dude? I mean, this woman just offered to buy him a drink, and then he leaves the diner, and then he comes back in and he says something like, I'd like nothing more than to sit here and talk to you all night. Well, why don't you, asshole? I mean, why are you running away? You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was fully explained and I just missed it. But then when she suddenly shows up at work the next day, where she works at Nassau as well as him in Cocoa Beach, Florida, it was nice to see Florida in the movie. Um, but suddenly he treats her like shit for a good portion of the movie. He explains, as they're on this kind of pseudo date, that when he told her how gorgeous she was, just admiring her looks, that was when he thought she was a stranger. But now that they work together, it's a different story. Okay. So you're saying you just thought of her as like a one night stand potential thing, not someone that you'd actually like to spend time with on serious matters? It just felt very convoluted and just weird. And I do think that the actors did the best they could with this dialogue, but I don't think the dialogue was that great or the situations were not that great. One little funny aside was they had this little, montage where Kelly Jones is kind of pitching a bunch of different legislators or senators a bunch of stuff on behalf of Nassau. And one of these guys is played by Colin Jost or Jost or whatever the hell his name is. So obviously that's a nepotism hire. He is the guy on Saturday Night Live, the Saturday Night Live weekend news update host, one of them, and he's also married to Scarlett Johansson. Good for him, And she got him a job. She got him a little, cameo in this film, and it's okay. I mean, he's not in the movie for more than a minute, but I did feel like it might have been a more interesting choice to cast him, believe it or not, as this Nassau guy. I mean, he's obviously not the strapping slab of meat that Channing Tatum is, but I think he might have been better, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not a big fan of Colin Jost, and I know it was just a nepotism hire that she probably had in her contract that she got her husband there, at least for now, a job in this movie. But I did feel like he might have been funnier. Like it might have been more. It might have been a more interesting movie if Colin Jost or somebody else was in this role, because it just felt like very it felt like Tatum Tanning is now competing with John Cena for like these Middle Earth roles, and maybe even Cena would have been better in this thing. I mean, I just felt like Tatum Tanning, his character was kind of unlikable. I don't think that he had a wink in his eye to kind of bring something to it, because he's kind of a guy that, because of his kind of, big frame and, all tough guy type of thing. Like he's better in movies. I think he was in a movie called Fighting, was the first time I saw him in a movie. I think he's better as kind of like an arrogant prick type of guy. Or the movie Dog was actually pretty good, where he kind of like bonded with a dog. This one, I don't know if he's the ultimate guy for like a romantic comedy, because he's kind of a little bit like an anti-hero or a little bit unlikable as it is. So when he's kind of being mean to this woman after he's already professed to her how much lust he's in for her face, it's just kind of like it's hard to watch that for 2 hours, 2 hours and 14 minutes to be exact. So I don't know. I just don't feel like this movie, for all the reasons I've stated. I wanted to like this movie more. Maybe I just missed the boat and I should have seen it when it first came out. I really haven't seen many tweets or twats about it. On IMDb, it says 6.8 stars out of 10. I don't know. I think it's just because this is kind of a Middle Earth movie. You know what I mean? Like people feel like they should like this movie. Oh, it's got Scarlett. Oh, it's got Tatum Channing. Oh, it's about Nassau. Like, and the music for this movie is typical big box office movie. Orchestration. All the music with the violins and all that horse shit matches up so nicely with the action. I thought once again, it's interesting. Another cat is in a movie in the summertime, like not a talking cat, but just the random black cat that's in this movie that causes hijinks and so forth. Um, eh, if you saw the Day One movie, the whatever it was, the Quiet Place or the Quiet Place Day One, or whatever the fuck, that had a nice tuxedo cat. This movie has a black cat, and so forth. I don't know. I mean, should I go here? Should I not? I mean, let's face facts, folks. Back in 1969, NASA, we saw the movie Hidden Figures, maybe 7 or 8 or 9 years ago, that kind of explored these African American ladies that were working for NASA that didn't get the credit that they so deserved as the mathematicians. That movie was better than this movie. But in that movie, or in this movie, I should say, they don't really go into those ladies, which is fine because that movie did it already. But there is one black or African American guy who's working at NASA. Like in this whole sea of white pale faces, there's one prominent black character, and of course he's the go-to guy. You know what I mean? So wow, just mathematically, such a wonderful thing that the one black guy working at NASA at the time of this story happens to be the one guy that Chatham Tanning trusts. And also, it seems like every time they go to a diner or a restaurant in this film, it happens to be an African American or black server at the restaurant. So the movie is trying to compensate basically because all these characters at NASA are all white faced, pale faced people at this time of prejudice and racism. But in order to not be such a racist movie or seem like it, they try to cover up the fact that we were a racist country at the time with this casting. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, it's trying to soften the edges of the reality of the prejudice at the time and so forth, which I get it. It's a romantic comedy, so they're trying to make it nice. It doesn't have to be as serious as Hidden Figures or the movie I saw last summer with the guy that the first Mexican gentleman to go to space. That movie, I wish I could remember the name. It was really good. So overall, folks, I just thought this one it played it too safe. It played it on both sides of the fence. Yes, we're edgy. Yes, we are, you know, going against the grain with this conspiracy thing. We've got Woody Harrelson as the quirky character. We've got Scarlett Johansson as the reformed vixen, and we've got our strapping Joe Chatham Tanning as the all-American boy who eats his butter and drinks his milk every night. And I just felt like it was just too much of the same old steaming pile of dog shit we've seen, and just too much of a mainstream Mark type of movie. I mean, that's how I felt. So I don't feel like this is a great big success creatively. Financially, I'm sure it'll do well. I don't think that any of the performers, I think Scarlett did her job. I think Woody did his job. If anyone I had an issue with, it was our buddy here, Tatum Channing, but that's just casting, not his fault, because I do like him in things like Dog and stuff like that. Ray Romano was probably interesting. I never really watched the Everybody Hates Raymond or whatever Everybody Loves Raymond. Never really watched it. So I know that he's been around. I'm trying to look at these other characters. The lady that played the assistant to Kelly Jones, I thought she was pretty good. I'll see if I can dig up her name. Was that Lauren Rivard? Was that her? Nope, that wasn't. That was somebody else. But there was like an assistant, like Scarlett Johansson's character had an assistant. Was it Anna Garcia as Ruby Martin? Yeah, that looks like it was. I thought she was pretty good. All right, folks. It's your buddy Mike Messier. One Mike Messier is where you see these wonderful movie reviews. I give you my honest opinion. Uh, Sometimes you'll agree, sometimes you won't, but you're welcome to check in. And pretty much any movie for the last 3 or 4 years I've reviewed. A lot of movies I like, but sometimes I don't like them. So it is what it is. It's a subjective medium. If you want to see my films, if you want to grade my films and tear me apart, if Tatum Channing's out there, he wants to see how well I do with movie making, you can go to One Man in a Camera Films, the numeral 1, Man in a Camera Films, one pro wrestling and sports fan for the wrestling fans, the sports fans, and one artist, Mike Messier. So this is Mike Messier, MikeMessier.com for all my social media stuff.